some of the physical features on your Lexmark printer, and there are a couple of different models, so they may be a little bit different. On this particular model, we have a first tray and a second tray, and so we can choose those options. Not all of them are going to have that. And this one has also got the bypass tray right in the front. There's a little button here that opens up this tray, and then you can put in your envelopes or your labels or your things like that. And that you're going to have to choose that tray if you wanted to pull from that tray, whether you're copying or printing. So that's just a little button there that comes out. On a few of the machines, the bypass tray is on the side. Also, there are some areas, if there are some misfeeds that you can get to, if you see anything green, you'll be able to pull that out. There'll be a picture on the screen to guide you through. On this particular model, it is color, so the toner is going to be on the right side of the machine. On this model, on the right side of the machine, there's a little handle here. You can select and lift that, and here's where the toner cartridges are. There's a little green button that you can pull, and then the toner cartridge will come out. You'll take a new one and put those cartridges right in and close that door up. Go ahead. The document feeder, there should be a picture on the top to show you which way it goes. On this one, it's face up, head in, and then just make sure the guides are tight to the document. If the originals do misfeed, there is an area that can open up here, and if you are going to put it onto the glass, you'll place it in the upper left corner, face down with the head to this side, and you can put it right there for anything on the glass. All right, to copy on your Lexmark device, you'll start from the main screen, and if you don't have that, there's a home button right here that you can choose to get you there. Once you choose that, choose copy, and it's going to bring you up to your main copy screen. And in the middle area here, it's going to show some of the basic settings. For example, we have the color setting set to off. If you do want to choose color, I usually choose the auto option, and that will allow you to print in color. Down here we have some of the more common shortcuts to things like 1 to 2-sided or choosing different sizes, but we can also choose most of those options along the side, and this is all touchscreen, and if you scroll up and down along the side you'll be able to see the options. So here's an example, the paper setup 1-sided to 1-sided. You can either do it here or there. If I do it here, when I choose it, it'll bring the options out to the side. So I'm going to copy from, and this says 1-sided. If I touch it and say 2-sided, that would mean you have 2-sided originals. If I have single-sided originals, leave it there. If I'm going to copy and I want them to come out 2-sided, go to the copy to and choose 2-sided. So I have single-sided originals. I want to copy them double-sided. I'm going to choose that. Now what you'll choose is the little arrow on the side. When you choose that, it pushes that in, and you can see right here that that's in blue, and that shows that that setting is on, and there's also a visual here for showing the 2-sided. So right now I can see color and 2-sided just visually. It doesn't matter what order you do it in. You can choose the number of copies either from here or from the touch screen, either area. Turn all the settings on the way that you want them to be, and then you'll either choose this copy green or the green arrow in the corner there, and that will start the job. There's a number of other things. Just do it before you choose to copy it. As we scroll up and down on the side, we have other features available. An example, edge erase. It just erases around the end of the edges of the document. So you can choose options here. You can also choose from this main screen, for example, where it says copy to. If you touch that, that's where you can choose to copy to a multi-purpose feeder or one of the other trays. When I choose the multi-purpose feeder, because I don't have any paper in, it's going to ask you what size do you want it to be and what type of paper. So for example, are you doing plain paper, or maybe you're going to put labels in that area. So this area lets you choose the paper trays as well. Once you choose start and your job is running, on the right side of the screen there's a big red X. That is what you would choose if you want to cancel that job. So if you find out there's something wrong with it, choose the red X. The C here, if I choose that, it's going to clear all the settings on the screen. Do you want to reset them? Yes. And it just put everything back to my 1-sided black, and I can start all over again. So for the most part, you can choose that. And at any point, there's a home button here. It will always bring you back to the main copy screen, or to get back into the copy options, you can choose it right from here and choose everything you need, and green is go. One of the other options you can do is for any setting that maybe you do a lot. So I'm going to turn on color. I'm going to go to the 1 to 2 sided, and I can from here, it just looks a little bit different, 1 to 2 sided. So you choose all those options as you go. If this is a setting that I choose all the time, the star on the top is how you make a shortcut, and you would just touch the star and you can say create a shortcut, and then you can name it. And on here a little keyboard appears, and I'm just going to call this color two-sided. And there's a little thing here, so I'm just going to call it color two-sided. And I just created myself a little shortcut. So the next time I come here, I'm going to choose clear to kind of get everything back to normal. I can just go to my shortcut and I can choose color two-sided, and it'll turn those settings on. Also, I'd like you to notice that next to the number or the shortcut, there's a number. This happens to be number 12. That's its shortcut number. So if I come here, choose shortcut, color two-sided, it turned it on. I'm just going to clear that out to show you that. I'm going to go back to the home screen, and from the main screen, to get your shortcut, if you know the number, you just choose the pound and then the number of the shortcut and choose OK, and it will also bring you into the shortcut. The Lexmarks really love to use shortcuts. You'll build shortcuts up over time, and it's really easy. Just pound and the number of the shortcut, and it will bring you right into there. Or if you come into it, you can always choose from the star and choose your shortcut from there. I'm going to go back to the home screen. Another option for the shortcuts from the main screen, we have an option called the Shortcut Center. If you choose that, it will show you also all your shortcuts. These are the copy shortcuts. There can be email shortcuts, faxing shortcuts, etc. So I can get to there a number of different ways. I'm going to scroll back to there. And that's your copying on your Lexmark copier printer. To email from your Lexmark printer, copier printer, to scan a document and send it to your email, just come to the main screen at the home menu and choose email. And there's a couple of different ways you can do it. If you've never emailed before, you can always just touch in the to section and you can type in your email. The little keyboard appears. But normally what I would do is I would go in from my email, and you can program your emails in. So there's a little option here for an address book. And if I touch the address book, it'll show me the names of the people that I've already programmed in. We'll get to that in a different section on how to program in the address book. So here's a name in the address book. I choose that name and I hit add up in the upper right corner, and that's who the email is going to go to. And I always recommend that you're sending the email to yourself, so that should be your name. Then from there, it's very similar to the copy screen, where on the left side we've got options. Is it going to scan in color? Is it scanning two-sided? That type of thing. So you can come into here, for example, and say, is it one-sided or is it two-sided originals, to choose any of those options. Again, the little arrow will just move it in. Hope I hit it twice there. The little arrow will move it in so that we could see that option when I choose the 1 to 2-sided, and just move in right there. So with your name chosen in there, and again I just have to reset it because I touched the button twice, adding the name, choose the options that you want, and when you're ready you're just going to choose send, and it's going to take that document and send it to you as an email. Down along the side there's a few other options. So for example, it's going to send it as a PDF. If we touch this option here, we can choose other file types. So if we click there where it says PDF, you could choose a JPEG or other file formats. JPEG is a commonly used one for photos, clip art pictures, things like that. As you add those different features, you can choose the options on the side. As you're scanning photos, you may want to up the quality. So with the resolution at 300 dots per inch, you may want to move it up to 600 dots per inch for photos to get a little bit better quality when you're scanning those options in. At any point that you get to where you're ready to go, just choose the send option, and it's going to send that out as an email. There's a few other things. For example, there's a place here that says file name. So what's the name of the document going to be? It defaults in to just say scan from Lexmark. I can clear that out, or I can start typing a different name, and that will be the name of the document when you send that out. You can also fill in a subject and message on the email as you go. Another really nice one here is there's something called blank pages. If you get into the blank page option, so let's say my originals are two-sided, I could say let's remove the blank pages, and if some of your pages are single and some are double-sided, it will remove those pages right out as you go. So as you do, choose all the options, choose send, and it's going to send it out as an email. Now, we came in and had to choose your name from here, but remember the options to do shortcuts. If you choose the star and create a shortcut, I could name this to send to myself whatever my name is as a JPEG or whatever you want the option to be. So choose create a shortcut and it will create you a new shortcut. And at any point, if you create a shortcut, touch the star, choose the shortcut, and it's going to bring it in and pull in the settings that you chose for that particular shortcut. Also remember, from the home screen, if you know the number of your shortcut, you can just do pound and the number, and it's going to bring your shortcut up to whatever your shortcut was set to be. Just a couple other options I want to mention from the email side. So if I come in, the very first thing, once you pick your name, we have a couple things here that are nice. The scan preview is currently set to off. If you turn it on, it's going to show you a little preview before you send it. And then it's really nice because you can see if everything's correct. But don't forget, if you do a preview, it won't send until you've looked at the preview and say it's okay to send it. Whether it's defaulting to color or not depends on your setup. Most of the time the scanning is set to color, but you can scan in black or other options as need be. And there's also one little area in there that you can choose some of the different scan quality, scanning to the edges, erasing around the edges, very similar to the copy options that you have. When you're done, remember, it'll bring you into the home screen and you can go on and choose the next feature that you're ready to work with. Or if you've created shortcuts, you can also come to the Shortcut Center and you can find your email shortcuts that you have created there if you can't remember the number. And that's emailing from your Lexmark machine. Faxing on your Lexmark printer. From the home screen, you're going to choose the fax option here. And from there, you're just going to put in the information that you're going to send it to. At the 2, just touch there. And whether you use this keyboard or this keyboard, you can choose it. If you're doing long distance, you may need to dial a 1 or your number. So put in the number as you want to dial it out. And choose the little arrow or done, and it'll bring you back to the main screen with who it's sending to. And really, if that's all you need to do, just hit send. It's going to go out as a fax. But just like on the other screens, before you choose send, choose your options. Do you have single-sided or double-sided originals? And again, it's just like on the other screens where you just toggle the options on and then hit the arrow to get there. We do have a few other things. For example, a transmission log. So if you wanted to print a report after the fax that you're going to do, you can choose the transmission log and you can say print it or email it, and you can choose your email address in there as well. So you can choose the options for the transmission log. Otherwise, for the most part, the options on the side are just the same as your copying and scanning. And when you choose send, it'll go out as a fax. Remember, you can also choose shortcuts by using the star, and there is an address book that you can choose from. If you have frequently entered fax numbers, you can also create them right from here. But I'll show you the web interface, and we can do it from the computer as well. So fax option, choose it, choose send. When you're done, it'll come back to the home menu, and you can go on and complete the other option. One other thing I do want to mention at this point, if you ever just want to clear all settings, make sure you're choosing that clear button here, and it will clear all settings. And within each one of the options, it will clear the settings for that one setting that you're working on. Couple of the other options that are on here, I do want to mention just the status or the supplies, just to know. It's going to show you, are there any alerts? I'm running out of paper in a tray. It'll show you each of the trays here, what kind of paper is in those trays. You can also check your toner supplies and those types of things as well. One of the things on these Lexmark machines as well, notice on the side for the trays it is saying plain paper. If you are going to be putting a different kind of paper in that tray, you can touch that and choose what's going to go into that tray. It just helps it so it doesn't have as many misfeeds from unusual types of paper. So that's just from that main screen that is the status and the supplies screen. Another area from here is the job queue. In the job queue section, if there's jobs that are printing or scanning or faxing or anything like that, you can come into here, you can select the jobs and cancel those jobs. Also fax jobs, you can go ahead and cancel those jobs. There'll be a little cancel option if there's anything available in there. So from that main screen, the job queue is useful for you to check jobs that are in process. Another area is just the settings. I just want to mention that there's settings here. You can go and change settings and get into different options. For example, the paper settings, you can go into those and you can choose the tray and you can set up what kinds of paper are in each tray. Just to know those features are here, normally those are already set up for you and you can get to them through a web interface. The web interface is an area where you'll have an IP address up here. If you take that address and you type it into a web browser, we would be able to go into a computer and we can get to these kind of administrative tasks that are needed. Just a few other ones. I don't normally do the address book from here either because I can set that up through the interface. A USB drive. There is a little USB port on the side. You can plug it in, go to the USB drive, and any documents that are there, you can select them and just print them. There are some limited types of files that you can print from for the USB option: PDF, JPEG, TIFF. That's the most common ones you're going to be able to choose from. Another option I want to mention from the main screen is held jobs. For most of the models, they do have a hard drive in them, and when you print, there's an option to hold the job. When you do choose that, as you print, then the held job will be here, and you'll be able to come in and choose the held job and then queue it up to print. So then I could choose that job and choose print, and it will go ahead and print that job out if I've held a job in the queue. So from that home menu, that's the held jobs option. Most of the other things that are here are additional apps that you can add to the machine, and there's also in many cases a scroll to the side. The shortcut center, as I mentioned, is there. I do want to mention the scan center as well. There are some people that are scanning to folders, and if you're scanning to a folder on the network, you will go into the scan center. In the scan center, if you do have folders set up, they'll already be there. You can just select them, and that is the location it's going to go. And then if you touch this scan settings, it brings up those similar types of things that you can choose. Do you want a two-sided, single-sided scanning color or not? And then again, when you choose the scan option, it'll send it with those options that are there. So from that home menu, there's something called the scan center. I do want to mention this customer support button. Quite often this customer support number is to get to Lexmark, not to get to Loffler. If you are going to be trying to get a hold of Loffler, be sure to call the number that's on the red sticker on the machine, and you'll be able to get a hold of us to talk about if you need any service or supplies or any other kind of assistance that you need. And there's that main screen again. So when you're ready to start printing from your computer, you will just open up your document and choose File, Print, or however you get to the printing options. Make sure you choose your Lexmark printer. From there, if you just choose Print, it will print using your default settings, or if you go into the printer properties, it will let you change the settings for that particular job. From the tab across the top called the Layout tab, there's a little option below that says Print on both sides duplex. And if you click on the drop-down arrow there, print on one side only will be single-sided and print on both sides will be double-sided. And there's a little picture in the upper right corner that'll show you that as well. There are a number of other options in there, such as booklets or posters and blowing things up, but each of the tabs will have its own options. As we go across the top, there will be a paper finishing tab. In there is where you can do some shrinking and enlarging along the top, and you can also choose the paper tray. So there is one called the paper source tray, and automatically select will always start with tray 1 and work its way through the trays. If you do want to choose from a tray, click on the drop down and you can choose tray 1 or 2 or depending on your machine. If you choose the multi-purpose feeder, it will just pull directly from the paper that's sitting in the tray. If you choose manual paper, it assumes you're going to be putting paper in the multi-purpose feeder but is not there, so it will pause the job before you have to enter the paper. So if you choose manual paper, then when you go up to the machine, you'll have to put the paper in and tell it that that's the correct paper. And the manual envelope will always do that as well, but it will assume that you're going to be putting putting in an envelope. You can set which paper types each of those mean as well. What does the multi-purpose manual tray paper type options? So just know the default is automatically select. Under the quality tab is where you can choose color. In the left side, halfway down, there's a little option that says print text as black and print in black and white. If you select both of those options, if they're checked, the document will print only with black. If you uncheck print text as black, that means your text will be in color. Whatever one is checked will be the option for black or color. If you uncheck print in black and white and have print text as black, what that does is any of your photos will be color and the text itself will print in black. I recommend usually both the tabs, and then you know everything in the document is black instead of color. There are a few other tabs across the top. There's an option to do watermarks, things such as draft or confidential. You can put those in. And then there's a tab for print and hold. With the print and hold tab, if you check the print and hold box at the top, you can then do a couple different options. The most common one is just a confidential print, and you'll put in a PIN, and it's a 0 or a 4 through 9 digit number that you can put into there, and you can enter the PIN. Excuse me, yes, 4 digits. You can also just do something called verify print. It will only print one copy now, and then the proof copy will be printed once you go up to the machine, or the rest of them will be released. So if you don't have that checked, it's just going to print. The last tab for other options, for most of you, you're not going to choose those options. I'm going to go back to the layout tab, and just to remind you, on the right hand side, Lexmark loves shortcuts, and one of the areas there is you can choose shortcuts. So there's a little option that says load settings, and if you say none, that's just whatever settings you have there. But if you choose it, there will be options, and these are where your shortcuts are going to be. So for example, if I choose the factory default, it sets everything there. Well, what you can do is change the settings, for example, one-sided or black or whatever you want. Choose the settings, choose save, and then you'll name that favorite or that shortcut. Then when you choose load, you'll have the option there, and you can select the option, and that's your favorite setting that's there. Once you choose all the settings you want, always just choose OK and print, and off you go. Perfect. From the remote embedded web server, you will enter your machine's IP address into a web browser, either Chrome or Internet Explorer, and you'll find that at the top of the screen from the copy screen area. From the interface, when you open it up, this is going to be the main option, and from there you have options along the side. The first main menu will show you is there toner in it or anything like that. From the side, you'll choose the paper option, and you'll be able to choose some of the things like the settings of the tray. So you'll have what kind of paper is in each tray. I recommend that in the multi-purpose feeder option, you put in the type of paper that you use the most. In the interface here, I've chosen letterhead. And then for the manual paper, I chose labels here. Choose the thing that if you send it from your computer, there's an option called manual. And if you choose manual, that's the type of paper it thinks it's going to be. So I chose label. So I would assume that labels are there. And always manual envelope, choose an envelope paper type. So the screenshots that you see there are the recommended settings that we do. Anytime you make a change, just make sure you choose save down at the bottom, and it will allow you to save those settings. So you're saving it actually at the machine as you're doing this interface. The other area along the side that you might use is the address book. So within the address book, you may have some contacts in there already. If you need to add any, you'll choose add contact, and from there you'll put their information, their first name, their last name. If you want to program their email address, type their email address in, or if you're programming a fax number, type the fax number. Just try not to put any dashes on the number. Dial the number without dashes, and then remember to choose save, and it will add it into your address book. So you can choose it from faxing or emailing. The other option along the side is the shortcuts menu. If you go to the shortcuts menu, you'll be able to see your different shortcuts, the copy, the email, any of the others. And there is a button that says add shortcut. It's the easiest way to make shortcuts. The first thing is, are you making a copy shortcut, an email, or a fax shortcut? And once you choose that, then it says, what do you want to name it? It automatically will give it a number, and unless you want to change that to a different and specific number, you can. For emails, who is it to? You'll type their email address. any other information you want in there. Do you want a specific subject or message? One of the areas in there is, remember to set whether you're going to scan in color or not. And the other area is what file format. Do you want it to be a PDF or a JPEG or any of those options? And the bottom area where the resolution is, I recommend 300 dots per inch as your basic setting that's going to be there. But the default is set to 150 dots per inch, so it can make it a little bit grainy. So set your shortcuts up to have a little bit maybe higher quality, and then remember to choose save, and then it is now a shortcut at the machine. Other than that, if there are any settings, like if you want to change the defaults from the copy screen, for example, you can go into the copy menu on the side and you can choose the defaults. For example, there's a default to color or black. Do you want it to default to one or two-sided? And you can do that also from the email menu on the side. What do you want your defaults to be? And so there is a little area and there's a little link called email defaults, and you can go ahead and choose, again, maybe change that to 300 dots per inch versus 150 dots per inch. Otherwise, through this web interface is where the settings, just knowing that they're there is half of it, and you can always choose to come into the area and check on your settings.